In earlier videos on this topic, I mentioned that the Mars transit from the week of February 24th until early March presented a problem for Trump because it's going through a T-square in his chart that he doesn't like at all. And these are the degrees of Neptune, Mercury, and Eris, which is where Mars is as I speak, and will be there until at least the end of the week. Now, what I had not anticipated back when I said it was that this would connect with the coronavirus crisis in such a strong way. And the problem he now has is that this isn't just his chart, this is linking to the American chart as well. And it turns out in a very problematic way for Donald Trump. If we look at the USA chart, then what we see is that the US Neptune at 22 degrees Virgo and the Mars at 21 degrees Gemini. Now, as an aside, notice that the Mars is in the degrees of Trump's Sun, a couple of degrees away, but close enough, and opposite his Moon. This, to me, is incredibly symbolic of the Trump phenomenon connecting to the aggression in the U.S. psyche, and basically the anger and the constant combat mode that we're in as a result of his presidency. But now we see that Neptune here is making its way toward a summer solstice station, where it's going to be triggering this square in the U.S. chart by opposing itself and squaring Mars, and of course directly implicating Trump, because Trump is right there with his Sun and his Moon over here, part of the entire structure. Now, if you look at this, what you see is that in the U.S. chart, Mars rules the 5th and the 12th. And to my mind, the 12th would be the first house I would look to if I'm assessing a pandemic, because the 6-12 axis is the health axis, and if the 6th is health in a challenging way, the 12th is even more challenging. I mean, in the 6th you're sick, and the 12th you end up in the hospital. Then you see that Neptune in Virgo is Mercury ruled, and Mercury is in the 8th, which is another definite pointer toward infection and disease. And the fact that Saturn and Pluto are over here opposing Mercury is no help at all. It's, in fact, this whole thing is signaling a potential crisis where you have something breaking out that causes possible major financial problems, because the Capricorn Cancer axis is the country's resource system, the stock market, money in general. All of this links to Trump, and it goes to what I had said in prior videos, that if you see his chart, it has a lot of activity in the health sector, which normally you explain as health problems for the person themselves. But as I said in the past, in Obama's case, when the health houses were triggered in 2009, 2010, he was working on the Affordable Care Act, which was a health matter for the country. And here we have the president now involved in a somewhat similar theme. Now, this doesn't take away the fact that it could affect his health as well, because all these things go together, and Trump is significantly older than Obama was, and one could say pretty safely that he doesn't take care of himself at all, and so that becomes a problem as well, right, for him in terms of possible health breakdowns. Even Jupiter in this case, Jupiter tends to be seen as a benefic influence, but you notice that we're coming up to degrees now where it'll be set up 20, 21, 22. From there, it makes quincunxes, well, to his Sun specifically, a quincunx. And that's another health issue. So I would say that the next while for Trump is likely to be very difficult. He likes to basically change the subject, gaslight. He's constantly telling the public something that isn't true about a situation. He wants it to be whatever he says it is, as opposed to what it actually is. You know, that can work up to a point, but when it comes to things like pandemics, the facts and the situation are going to catch up with you. And no matter what you say, it probably isn't going to work.